The Battle of White Mountain, a tale of fate and fury. In the early light of November 8th, 1620, a dense fog clung to the rolling hills near Prague, muting the colors of autumn and casting an eerie pall over the landscape. The White Mountain, normally a serene outpost of nature, stood as a foreboding sentinel on this day, its slopes destined to be stained with the blood of battle. For years, tension had simmered across the Holy Roman Empire, a cauldron of religious and political strife ready to boil over. The Protestant Bohemian nobles, resentful of Habsburg Catholic dominance, had cast their lot against the emperor. Their rebellion had drawn in allies and enemies, coalescing into a powder keg poised to ignite. In the makeshift camp at the base of White Mountain, Frederick V of the Palatinate, the so-called Winter King, paced anxiously. He was a reluctant leader, thrust into this maelstrom by the crown of Bohemia. As he peered through the fog, he knew his fate, and that of his people hung in the balance. Around him, his generals whispered strategies and bolstered their troops, a diverse mix of Germans, Czechs, and Scots, all united under the Protestant banner. Opposite them, atop the White Mountain, the Catholic League's army assembled with grim determination. Led by the capable General Johann Cercles, Count of Tilly, their ranks were filled with seasoned soldiers, hardened by years of war. The imperial eagle of the Habsburgs fluttered in the chill wind, a stark reminder of the might they represented. As the morning wore on, the fog began to lift, revealing the battlefield in stark relief. Frederick could see the banners of his enemies clearly now, and the sight chilled him to the bone. He turned to his most trusted commander, Christian of Anhalt. "Today we fight for more than just Bohemia," Frederick said, his voice steady despite the tremor in his heart. "We fight for the right to our beliefs, our way of life." Anhalt nodded, his face set in grim determination. "Then we shall give them a battle they will not soon forget." The signal was given, and the Protestant forces surged forward, their war cries echoing across the plain. Cannons roared, and the ground trembled as the two armies clashed. The first wave of Protestant soldiers, led by Count Thurn, charged up the slope, met by a hail of musket fire and cannon shot from the entrenched Catholic positions. Despite the initial ferocity of their attack, the Protestant forces struggled to gain ground. The White Mountain's natural defenses, combined with the disciplined ranks of Tilly's troops, created a near-impenetrable barrier. The air was thick with the acrid smell of gunpowder and the cries of the wounded and dying. In the midst of the chaos, a young Protestant soldier named Jan found himself separated from his unit. Fear gripped his heart, but he pressed on, driven by a sense of duty and the memory of his family back in Prague. As he fought his way up the slope, he encountered a Catholic soldier, a grizzled veteran with a scar across his face. Their eyes locked, and for a moment, the battle around them seemed to fade away. In that instant, they were not enemies, but men fighting for their beliefs. The veteran raised his sword, and Jan braced himself, but the blow never came. A cannonball struck the ground nearby, sending them both sprawling. Dazed and disoriented, Jan struggled to his feet, only to see the veteran lying motionless, a look of surprise etched on his face. The tide of battle began to turn against the Protestants. Tilly's forces, bolstered by reinforcements from the emperor's own household troops, pressed their advantage. Panic spread through Frederick's ranks as they realized the inevitability of their defeat. High on a hill overlooking the battlefield, Frederick watched in despair as his dreams of a Protestant Bohemia crumbled before his eyes. He knew that his reign, already derisively dubbed the Winter King for its brevity, was coming to an end. With a heavy heart, he ordered the retreat, hoping to save what remained of his forces. The battle was over within hours, a decisive victory for the Catholic League. The White Mountain, once a symbol of hope for the Protestants, now stood as a monument to their defeat. As the sun set, casting long shadows across the battlefield, the moans of the wounded mingled with the cawing of crows, harbingers of the coming darkness. In the aftermath, the repercussions of the Battle of White Mountain rippled across Europe. The Bohemian Revolt was crushed, and the 30 Years' War, already in its infancy, would continue to ravage the continent for decades. Frederick fled into exile, a king without a kingdom, while the Catholic Habsburgs tightened their grip on the empire. Yet amidst the ruins, hope remained. Jan, the young soldier, survived the battle and returned to Prague. He carried with him the scars of war, but also a renewed determination. As he walked through the streets of his city, now under Catholic rule, he knew that the fight for freedom and faith was far from over. The seeds of resistance had been sown, and one day they would rise again. And so the White Mountains stood as a silent witness to history, its slopes forever marked by the blood of those who had fought and died for their beliefs. In the annals of time, their bravery and sacrifice would be remembered, a testament to the enduring human spirit in the face of insurmountable odds. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give a like, share, and subscribe to receive notification when we drop new content.